Hey everyone, Erin here. So today I have the amazing privilege of interviewing Tim Goyetche, who is the owner and founder of the Goyetche Institute. I am a practitioner underneath him. I have been working with Tim for almost 4 years. He's an amazing person. He's a naturopath. He's a master herbalist, amongst other things. He's very well respected by Health Canada. And he is the bomb diggity. And so I hope that you enjoyed this podcast. We're going to be talking about one of his products, CIAS, also known as G5, which is a converter of harmful EMF energy into body positive energy, along with the new release formula that helps people to heal from PTSD. All right, I hope that you enjoy and check out the show notes for a lot of the resources that we mentioned inside of the podcast. All right, take care. Bye-bye. So we've talked a lot about CIAS and my personal use and a lot of questions. So I'd like to just, because we have just a little bit of time left, let's talk about the release formula, because this has been a few years in the making. I believe it was like kind of challenging to get some of the ingredients for you, and it's long awaited and now it's here. So can you tell us a little bit about the release formula?
All right, so here we go. Now everybody needs to change their mindset because now we're going to talk about the human brain and its relationship with anxiety. With anxiety. Can you hear that keep going up?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you can't. Okay, it is a directional mic. I didn't know if you could hear the beep 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 beep. Okay, my phone's going every couple of seconds over there. I don't know who's trying to get me, but somebody is. Anyway, sorry. So now we're going to talk about the human brain. We're going to talk about anxiety. We're going to talk about negative thought. We're going to talk about its impact on the immune system. But we're also going to talk about the impacts on the human brain, and most specifically around that of the hippocampus, the thalamus, the amygdala, and the frontal lobe of the brain, which is well documented. And I'll cite study. I won't bother citing studies because you can go and there's thousands of them. Go hit PubMed, you'll find them. So what happens when we become chronic in our commitment to negative thinking, or we allow ourselves to be surrounded by negative people, or we are a subject or a victim of a traumatic experience that continues to play on our mind day in and day out, or we have generalized anxiety disorder where everything's always negative, depression, what have you. So what occurs and what has been identified again in so many studies that it's ridiculous is that these four regions of the brain. So once again, hippocampus, which is where the traumatic experiences. That's the only thing they truly know about it, is that traumatic uh, memory is stored in the hippocampus.
Oh, wow.
The thalamus, which supports the function of well, does so much more, but the thalamus, which just runs right alongside of it, that supports its function and the function of the amygdala, which is right beside that. But your amygdala is your fear processing center. That's where all fear is processed in the human body, is in the amygdala. And then we have the frontal lobe, which is, or the frontal cortex, which is the regulator of emotion. But when emotion is negative and it is chronic, when it's constant, what happens is that all four of these regions of the brain lose mass. So they lose volume.
Wow.
They actually shrink. And
Wow.
once they shrink, the ability to recover from that, to regain mass, is almost impossible, or is thought to be, actually currently thought to be impossible. That's why you see so many people on these, the pharmaceutical industry is loving this, because good, you take my drugs for the rest of your life. Because the further they distance themselves, the harder it is for the signaling between them and the communication between these four regions of the brain to actually communicate to help, so that you can and rationalize your fears. So when it comes to generalized anxiety, for instance, or even panic disorder, what have you, well, people will have a episode of anxiety and they will think, okay, all these negative thoughts running through my mind. I'm sorry, but it's not all the negative thoughts running through your mind that cause the anxiety. It was an automatic negative thought that caused the anxiety. So it
Mm,
was a subconscious thought that provoked the episode of anxiety or the episode of panic.
sure.
Uh, but that's all held up there in that hippocampus, and it's doing that, and it keeps revisiting or reintroducing itself because it can't properly communicate with the fear processing center to know
Mm,
whether it's a legitimate fear. So the
mm,
ability to rationalize our fears becomes quite a struggle,
right.
because you
Yeah.
think you can take 10 people who will watch be present at the same traumatic event, and three, four, five, I don't know what the percentage is, will suffer from just debilitating trauma. The others will be fine. So it's not about you just saw something and it's a trauma. It's about how long there's been a commitment to negative thought or negative environment, which all
Mm,
play a huge role in our immune system. Negative thought, negative environments make us very weak. So we talk about CIS, increasing cellular activity. Well, one of the first immune responses to negative thought or speech, and I show people in clinic every day by just repeating positive words versus negative words and showing them how weak they become on the negative words versus how strong they become on positive words. And I'm gonna think that a lot of your followers have been to the gym and they watched the guy on the bench press and he's trying to push and he's got the spotter or she and get the spotter, and they're holding the hands under the elbows, but they're not touching them.
mm,
It's the only thing that they're doing that makes them push what they couldn't push before. They're telling them that they can do it. They're being positive about it.
giving some support in
That
that way.
positivity is interpreted by the immune system as something the body needs to thrive and survive. We all need it. We can think that this is hippie silliness. What?
Sorry, I took that you said thrive and survive. And I said,
Oh,
I just did a little plug for my business.
there you go. All right.
Sorry.
So thrive and survive. You're absolutely correct. So up it goes just with words.
Mm,
But those words have a huge impact on all of us.
mm,
And
mm,
and yeah, I know you've heard me say this a million times, and I'm going to say it one more time for your audience. And that's if you allow yourself to stay in or maintain a relationship with a negative person, you had better be willing to die for them because you are handing them your death certificate to sign.
mm,
They may not kill you today, but they're killing you slowly.
mm.
They will reduce the quality of your life and they will reduce the duration of your life. It's absolute. And people say, well, this is, it's my son, it's my mother, it's how do you get rid of them? You communicate, you resolve, or
Mm.
you separate.
Yeah, you have to have boundaries, like
And
your emotional autonomy means something.
we absolutely need the boundaries for love and peace. And people can think this is hippie bullshit. Excuse me. I curse like a sailor. I've been really good so far. This is really good for me. But anyway, it's not. It's a reality. There's so many studies done on the impact of negative thought on the cellular body.
Mm.
So again, it's a reality that not enough people consider. They should be going to your meditation classes, your yoga classes, finding peace. So there, I plugged your business for you too.
Thank you, Tim.
And
I'll
actually,
put a check in the mail.
in the spring with the new property, I will actually be teaching meditation as well.
Yay. So you
Um,
certainly have the voice for it and the
I
heart
keep
for
I
it.
keep hearing that, so I'm going to utilize it. So
Yay. I can't wait. Well, there's, obviously, I think for my listeners, this would be common sense, but for those who need a little extra, there's a yoga sutra. It's Vitarka Badhane Pratipaksha Bhavana. And it's all about taking negative thoughts, literally,
yeah,
and like switching them around for your health and to serve your community, but also for your internal state and like just constantly like, taking and scanning, studying yourself, we call swadhyaya, and then flipping that around because like, it impacts you. It like, the yogis knew about the energetics and I'm so into that. And I think that that's one of the reasons why when I met you, I was like, oh, he's speaking truth. Oh, okay. And he's brave. And so that's why, here we are years
I
later.
love that you just said serving your community.
Hmm.
I study Asian cultures very extensively
Oh.
because I have a very great interest in why so many of the Asian cultures have the longest life expectancies in the world, and
Mm.
some of them, uh, serving your community is a way of life.
Oh, absolutely.
It's an
Yeah.
absolute way of life. It's the volunteering to help and serve community, to support one another,
Mm.
um, and linked to longevity. So
Mm. Yeah. Gives that sense of purpose.
that's
We're all
yeah,
connected. It's like the fascial fibers, the cellular matrix that we have within. It's like expands with, beyond us into our communities. And so it's like if one person, it's like be the change you wish to see in the world. Uh,
absolutely.
yeah, if you take that to heart and it's like you start working on yourself. And so what I talk about when clients come to see me as a practitioner, it's like, well, listen, these formulas are amazing, they're going to help you out so much. The CIAS is fantastic, but like do other inner work too. Like it's in beautiful combination, right? Because we want to have that internal experience as well, and certainly this will help you on the path, but like you need to be walking down the path.
That's right. And we all have a responsibility and a competition. And while people say we shouldn't be in competition with anybody, you're absolutely right. But there is one person you should be in competition with, and that's the person you were yesterday.
Yeah.
Because every day, if we continue to do our work, we can become a better person. And the better we become, the more love we can grow for ourselves, the more respect that we can grow for ourselves, the more inner peace that we'll find. And
Mm.
that's a huge path that I'm going down. As
Well,
you know, big changes for 2024. And there's some stuff I haven't talked about yet that's gone on that may surprise a lot of people.
mm, mm.
So
Looking forward to it. You always do that. You kind of like drop a little like, and then it's like to be
just
continued.
enough information to keep you listening. Yeah. You're waiting. I like to teach you also.
Mm, yeah. So, the power of this inner work combined with, these substances that people can get a hold of. So the release formula, you mentioned the different parts of the brain that it works with. You've kind of
Yeah.
mentioned the communication that they have and why that's important. How
Well,
can,
I didn't finish that, and I apologize.
oh, please continue.
We're like two teenagers. Um,
It's good. Ding, ding, ding,
Look, a
ding.
puppy. How cute.
Squirrel.
So what these formulas are biologicals. Well, they're biologicals with the support of the nutrients that facilitate the health and function of all four of these sections of the brain. So what these biologicals are doing, they're stimulating those four regions: the hippocampus, the thalamus, the amygdala, and the frontal cortex, which I've had great success in regaining the mass of the frontal cortex,
Mm,
as well as the basal ganglia in the child with Huntington's disease from completely necrotic, using these same type of biologicals. They're true biologicals. They're not energy. It's not energy stuck in water. They're real biologicals,
mm,
rebuilt from completely necrotic up to full functioning and fully healthy.
amazing.
And with the same biologicals, able to delete the HNT1 gene mutation that was actually causing it. So the Huntington's disease is gone, the basal ganglia recovered. So I love my biologicals in helping people. There's some experiments with some of them that I'm really pushing limits on right now. That when they're ready, I'll be able to talk about them. But anyway, they help so much for those who took the Jivity jab,
Mm,
because that is an alteration of gene expression. That's exactly what's going on. Mark McKerna uh, Health Canada, the FDA all recognize that there is undeclared plasmid DNA going on that is held within them. And that is altering. As an advocate of women, I'm going to tell you all something right now. For any of you, and it seems to be because I I'm not so I'm not a woman, but as somebody who's been in a relationship, a lot of relationships, the whole pandemic lockdown thing made people reevaluate a lot of their lives and where they want to be with love and peace. And if it wasn't found at home, there's a lot of relationships that are ending. I just want you to be careful of who you choose to have your next relationship with. When it comes to that whole jibbity jabbity, I've had 6 stuck in my arm and I'm a king, yeah. But that when it comes to transfer of DNA and mRNA, sorry, through coitus. So I'm being professional here.
You're very fancy. That's very fancy.
The transfer is maintained in the female body way more than the male body, and that's because of orifice size, the amount of transfer of fluids. And the recent studies, I mean, it was just very recent, about 3 weeks ago, where they did autopsies on, I think it was like 150 different women, in which they went into the autopsy, they opened up their brain and they checked the DNA profiles, and they found the DNA of every lover they have ever had.
I've heard this, but
this is a new one, though. This is a new study that was just published. Of 150 women, all of them had the DNA of all of every single lover they had in their lifetime.
Body keeps the score.
But now, if they're altering the DNA, the way the DNA expresses, and that's the DNA you get, you also get the corrupted expression. So I just want you all to be careful. That's all.
Thank you.
I really worry about that.
Yeah, that's, I mean, rightfully so. And talking about it and educating people about it, I think will, that's the first step in creating awareness.
So just a last part on what's the name of the formula again? What do they call it?
Release formula.
Release.
Yay.
The release formula is that its whole intention is to rebuild those 4 sections of the brain. Again, I'll repeat it one more time: the hippocampus, the thalamus, the amygdala, and the frontal cortex or frontal lobe. And the reason we're doing that is then they become closer, better able to connect and communicate. And when you have the physical capability, then you can work on the emotional capability to validate or to rationalize your own thoughts and opinions. Because when we think about trauma, what I talked about, I work with a lot of kids that are traumatized from the last 3 years, and they're told they're going to kill their granny. And the one thing I asked them is, okay, so you had that traumatic event this long ago. How many times has it happened since? And the answer is almost always 0.
Yeah.
So in most traumas, like not all, in all cases, there are exceptions, okay, where more help is needed. But when you're able to rationalize, you realize that, okay, this hasn't happened for this many years. Is my fear rational? So now if I realize that it may or may not be rational, how is this fear or trauma affecting my relationships today with myself before I even consider my relationship with others? And what is an alternative? An alternative thought that I can have about that traumatic event. Can I learn from it and use it to help others versus using it to torture myself and torment myself? And we almost always can.
But if if the communication between those 4 parts of the brain is off, it'll be like really long work. And like you said,
or impossible work.
Or impossible because of the shrinkage that happened.
The shrinkage, just like men in cold water.
So
Yeah. There's Tim again. He's back.
There's Tim again. Yeah, I knew who was in there. He was in there. Teen Tim. So how can people acquire these substances?
From you.
For me, for me. So we have some practitioners, and we have them in the group, the CIAS group. If you are curious to join this group, there's a lot of education. In fact, we're putting together courses and files that people can access to be able to educate themselves on this. And if it's something that you want to potentially turn into a business, that's something I can teach you how to do, because I am a full belief of healers and practitioners being able to create a sustainable living while healing people. It is possible. Tim has done it. I have done it. There's quite a few people in our group who have done it. And real healing. So if that's something you're curious about too, Tim also has courses where you can become a certified practitioner underneath his institute.
And for anybody who wants to become a practitioner of some sort, and they're looking to make a sustainable living, or even depending on how much time they want to invest in it, the CIAS, there's so many people that are buying that in bulk, making their own vials and selling them. And the profit margin is about 600% when they, or I'll call it 500%, go to the lower part. But it's between 5 and 600%. So I'm going to say 500. They can do that all day long, and they can make tons of money at it, and they can, because I priced it so that it can. And I'm working with, because I'm the worst business person in the world. I really am. And I'm working with somebody who's trying to like beat me around and smart me up. And that's one of the things that they're telling me, that's way too cheap too. But why not let people? It's something that's needed in the world.
Yeah.
I really believe that it is. You see what it's done for you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Just like, I
It's
mean,
the ability to relieve pain. If you can take away the pain and the suffering that's accompanies, sorry, that pain in somebody, why price it to the point that they can't afford it?
yeah.
It just, none of that makes sense to me. So
Oh,
I've never
okay.
been that person. And you've
You're a
seen
good
that with
person.
the arthritis formula, where Procter and Gamble and Merck wanted to buy it, and I told them no, and then I gave it to everybody. It isn't world,
Yay. That's one of the reasons
because you
we
know what
love
they
it.
would do with it.
Yeah.
Make
They
it
would they would pervert it and change it,
absolutely.
all that stuff. Yeah. So that's the one of the reasons we love you, Tim, is because you have, for over a quarter of a century, 33 years now, you've protected your practice and these substances. You haven't sold out to these big companies because, what you believe in, you stand for. You don't just talk about it, you actually walk the walk. And so.
I don't worry as much about my practice as I worry about all of you,
Thank you. Thank
and
you.
that is a reality, because I've got all kinds of haters out there, and you've seen them, I'm sure, along the path. And I couldn't care less if they went and spread rumors and lies and ruined my business. I don't care,
Mm-hmm.
but I care about all of you.
Thank you. Yeah, and you have so many more people that love you. So, so Tim, thank you so much for
You're
joining me
welcome.
on this very special Valentine's Day. It's an honor and a
All right.
pleasure to interview you and just to, see you and hang out with you for a while.
It has been fun.
Yeah, so again, if you're interested in CIAS, we do have a group on Facebook. I will put the link in the show notes. We have practitioners in there. If you're looking for a practitioner, either myself or we have a couple of graduates, their information will be uploaded in there. If you're interested in Tim's courses, I can put an email to reach out to you, Tim, or how should I do that?
Email for them to reach out to me.
Yeah, or no, they can reach out to me. How about that? I'll make that easy for you.
Reach out to you.
Since I'm an official with
Though I
the.
will be taking on soon private virtual clients.
Oh, okay. Everybody hear that? Okay, so.
Yeah, I was afraid to say that out loud, with the help of Sarah, but,
Okay, good, good, good. All
but, but
right.
to have of just exclusive private clients,
Okay,
because I only see people in person.
right.
I
Yeah.
do no virtual myself
Okay,
at this time, but
right.
that's about to change.
Okay.
So,
All right.
some
So,
circumstances prevented it from getting released yet, but anyway, that that'll come. Anybody who follows me will see it.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you again, Tim, for your time. And
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. See you next week. Namaste.
All right. Bye from Aaron's Valentine.
Thank you so much for listening. If you want to support the podcast and if it's helping you, please consider writing a review. You can go to iTunes or Google Play, go into the search bar and type in Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching, scroll down, and you can leave a review. This helps other people to find me as well as bumps us up in the search ratings. Also, this podcast is sponsor-free, so that means we don't receive anything for doing it. If you feel so inclined and this podcast is helping to support you and you want to return the favor and help to support any production costs of the podcast, feel free to give a donation to a Venmo link, Thrive Yoga Fit, or PayPal, aaron@aaroncoach.com. If you don't have the means, don't worry about it. We're not going anywhere. You're all good. But if you would like to give back, you can give back in those ways. Thank you so much. Namaste.